4th, and joining us now live from someplace. I can try to guess in the background. Massachusetts or Michigan?
Yes, one or the other.
One
Absolutely.
of the two. Professor Jennifer Taub is here, professor at Wayne State University Law School in Detroit. You can find her every morning, Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on her YouTube show, Jen Taub. You can also find me in the elevator talking to strangers about politics at that same time. Every day I go downstairs. I'm like, did you see what he did? They're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm Dean on 13th floor. Like, stop talking to us. So you're at least doing something more constructive. So how are you, my friend? You want to share the news that you positive news? It's not huge, but it is very positive in terms of
Yes.
human rights.
Andre Hernandez Romero, who was one of
Hmm.
the men who was abducted and sent to CCOT by our government. He was the
Yep.
hairdresser, makeup artist. He has been free, and it was after 125 days of silence inside of that prison. He's now free. He's now, the sad thing, he's alleging that he was tortured and sexually abused, but
Wow.
he is free.
Wow.
But he is free and he's with his closest friends and family. And it means so much to me. I'm looking at my phone because I want to say to you that there is someone I follow on social media who's basically had a vigil every single day. His name is Michael J. McClure. He's a great follow
Okay.
on Twitter on now on Blue Sky. It's MJM Images, and he every single day has put a picture up of Andre. Every day I'm going to say his name wrong of Andre Hernandez Romero, and he's put
Okay.
his picture up and basically said, I'm going to keep posting this because I care about this man.
Wow.
And they were just very, very sweet. And I just was hoping, it's just tragic. His family tried to get news of him. We thought he might have been dead. And then we saw him, all of us come off that airplane the other day. And now he is with family. And to me, and allowing that for a brief moment to eclipse all of the other bad things. And it gives me hope that if he could retain hope in these terrible circumstances, so can we as we watch what is happening in the world, from genocide
Right.
in Gaza to a president participating in a massive cover up of child trafficking and the rest.
I just had on Professor Omar Barlo, who's a professor at Brown University in Holocaust studies and genocide studies. And he wrote the
Mm,
op-ed in the New York Times about the Gaza genocide. And this is a man who is Jewish, who's Israeli, who served in the Israeli military as an officer, and he's labeled as an anti-Semite now for just saying academically this is a genocide and going through what it is. And it's just unbelievable. And in the New York Times article, he talks about how the weaponization of anti-Semitism is unhelpful and actually can
right.
lead to more anti-Semitism, like by silencing people from speaking the truth about what's going on. But let's talk about. I wanted to pick up on something you said that this man came out and said he was tortured and he was sexually assaulted. We know from Abrigo Garcia that he was subjected to a form of torture. We know from
Right.
others who've come out who've gone to Venezuela. So at this point, if the U.S. sends more people back to that camp, aren't Trump and his administration officials complicit, if not potentially in terms of the eyes of international law, with these kind of crimes against humanity if you're doing it on a broad stroke in El Salvador? And El Salvador is a signatory to the ICC. The U.S. is not, but crimes committed on a signatory's land, that even if people live in countries that aren't, if you're part of it, you can be charged. So the U.S. government now knows that people are being tortured there in violation of international law. Do you think there's a potential for liability for Trump?
No. And he doesn't need to have the torture happen in El Salvador. What's going on right now in the detention center, also known as a concentration camp in the Everglades, is
Yep.
pretty damn bad too. There's not been allegations of sexual abuse. However, they're making people, it's like Abu Ghraib all over again. They're making people crawl on the ground like animals for their food. It's filthy, overheated. I've read or seen that ambulances have come there to rescue people. These are really sick people, and they're enablers who are running our government. And we knew this is who they were. We knew, you and I, this
Mm-hmm.
is who they were. And I'm hoping others awaken to it. I want to say one positive thing, more thing though, in the words of Andre Jose Hernandez Romero, he said, and this is obviously a translation, I imagine, from Spanish, I'm thinking. But it could also
Sure.
be in English, right? Anyway, because he was from Venezuela originally. It fills me with so much peace, so much comfort, so much tranquility that I was never alone from day one. There were many people who worried for me. Now,
That's very nice.
it's very nice, and yet
Hmm.
there are a lot of people we worry for who aren't as lucky across the globe. I long for a moment of reckoning and truth and reconciliation in particular about what has gone down in this country over the last, essentially, is it 8 years? I mean, this has been horrific.
I look forward to Donald Trump having a trial at The Hague and being held like Duterte, the former head of the Philippines, is now there be in custody for his crimes. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. So I'm chatting with law professor Jennifer Taub. So Jen, let's talk about the significance of the Wall Street Journal reporting yesterday, and that they reported in this stunning line in May. Pam Bondi and her deputy informed the president at a meeting in the White House that his name was in the Epstein files, and they know it appeared multiple times. We don't know in what context. We don't know about what. We don't know who was, what it was connected to, nothing else. But we know this. And I think it informs us so much more on what we suspected by Donald Trump's freaking out. But now we know he was freaking out. So what is your take on this?
So I have sort of a narrative take, kind of like you going, oh, who knew what when they knew it? And then I have sort of a bigger take. Let me go through the first. Now we know that when Don Bongino went on Fox News on May 30th, and he was so freaked out about his job, we know that at least Pam Bondi and Donald Trump at that point knew that Donald Trump was mentioned in the files.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether he knew, and that's why he was also deeply upset. Now, what we also know
Interesting.
is it was either June 6th or June 10th when Elon Musk and Donald Trump got in that dust up on Twitter. Elon was posting on Twitter, Donald on True Social, and this dust up was, I guess he was breaking up with Elon and saying what a pain in the ass he was. And Elon was really pissed off and during the press conference escalated and finally said the real bombshell here is that Donald Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files. And he said, mark this post or remember this.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he had knowledge then. I've got another one, and then this will be the last one I do. Last week, when Donald Trump, and we watched this video, was asked, did
Mm-hmm.
your attorney general inform you that you were in the files? He said, no, it was a very brief meeting, blah, blah, blah. So with all of that exposed, we have a view that a lot of people know that he's in there and probably the context. We also
Right.
know now for sure that what Dick Durbin had reported out that there were 1,000 people. Allison of Mueller, she wrote. Allison Gill also
Gil. Yeah.
confirmed, yeah, that 1,000 people, at least 1,000 people, were reviewing 300,000 documents. 300,000 pages,
Wow.
make of 100,000 documents, probably
Wow.
online, and that they did so quickly that they didn't have the system perfectly, locked down from viewers. We also know Allison's News also reporting is good, makes sense because she said in March when they started, they had one set of instructions, and then suddenly there was full panic mode, and they suddenly asked, start looking for Donald Trump's name. Because I think what happened is one person came across it and then they all went batshit crazy. And that's when they started to keep the log about all of the mentions of his name. What we also know is a special training video she reported. And, her
Mm-hmm.
reporting is that a training video was made saying this is how you look for Donald Trump's name and you log it and give it to us. So now we know that basically, if we, you feel this out, like basically sometime in late March or maybe April, someone saw something and then it was freak out mode. Or maybe it didn't happen until May because it seems like they would report it then. Probably in May, they reported it. And then they said, find my name everywhere, right? They decided to do that. And then it come to July, she shuts the whole thing down with a 2-page report saying, all there's nothing here, there's no list, whatever. Um, we also know from the Wall Street Journal, so let's do the step back. That's sort of now we know what they knew. I think why this is
Mm-hmm.
really significant is it shows you that Donald Trump isn't just covering for others. He doesn't like that his name appears in the way that it appears in
Right.
these documents. That is why they're going to Ghislaine Maxwell. They went today. Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, who was Donald Trump's former defense lawyer, went down and met in prison with Ghislaine Maxwell, who is at the center of this web, of this terrible ring. Okay, so what we know is that they're engaged in a full cover up, right? We
Yep.
knew that, we thought that before, and we know there's at least 100 names of these prominent men. This is big. It needs to be exposed. And if all there is so and so showed up and had an iced tea with Jeffrey down the street, so what? Then your name is there, and you say, "I'm sorry, I had an iced tea with him." Everything she has to be exposed because any of those men could be being blackmailed, and all of them were probably
Hmm.
blackmailed by, not all of them, many of them may have been blackmailed by Epstein. I mean, how did he amass a fortune of over $150 million or whatever it was? Is that the number?
It's 500 million at the time of his
Oh,
death. He had 500
shit.
million dollars in
500 million.
assets.
I got the five in the wrong place. What's 100 million here
Yep.
or there between friends? So $500 million, right? Why,
Yep.
why did this happen? So I really want to know. I want to know who's been, who's in on it. I want all of it. And it's really bad. We know it goes all the
Mhm.
way, we talked about, to the royal family. I
Sure.
think there is, and we've also seen the deposition. We just saw that deposition. It was an interview from 2010 after Epstein served his prison sentence, where he said he took the fifth when it came to even saying whether he had been with children, socializing with people under the age of 18 and Donald. So, there's so much here, Dean. And I don't think MAGA's going to give it up now. I don't think sending them home, the Congress home for vacation, is going to work because of what also happened, out of that House Oversight Committee. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. You asked me one question and I kind of went on a rant. I apologize.
That's like Jen's show every day, Jen Taub Live. It was like a little snapshot right there, folks. That's what she does. The in your heart, there's no facts here. In your heart, where do you think this might lead in regards to Donald Trump? And you're not making
In
a
my
factual statement,
heart
so
or in my
what
mind?
do what no, more in your mind as a lawyer, as a professor, as you look at Donald Trump? I had Glenn Kirshner on last night, and he laid out Donald Trump is
I
doing
know.
is called consciousness of guilt. It's consciousness of guilt is what prosecutors look for all the time. Trump is
Here's
showing
what
it,
I
his
see.
panic. What do you
Here's
see?
what I see. It's what I
Mhm.
thought was going to happen in his first term. I thought that at some point someone was going to walk up to him and show him a cell phone, and it was going to have some incriminating picture, like either the P tape or him with a, you know,
Mhm.
14-year-old girl, and that was how they were going to get him to resign. Now I think that it's teetering on the possibility that that meeting when JD Vance flew out to Montana in June, it
Mhm.
wasn't last week. Everyone was confused about when it was, but I think that the ground is being laid for Donald Trump to resign and get a pardon. And the problem is, I don't think he wants to do that. And I think
No,
that I obviously, and
no.
I don't know if he's trying to talk about. I wonder if why the medical stuff. They're doing a lot for distraction, but talking about it in medical issues, I don't know if it was to gain sympathy. I think it's also to lay a bit of
That was
groundwork.
suspicious. That's suspicious, wasn't it? I'm glad that you brought that up.
There's a lot of
I
things
didn't
going on
interrupt.
right now, and I think people are trying to figure out the reason why they never wanted to get rid of Donald Trump is because his base, his base
Mhm.
really loves him, and they would hate JD Vance unless they turned against him. And so there's like a lot of stuff happening here. And I had a wager. I'm on Michael Cohen's show tomorrow night. It's already been recorded. His podcast, Mea Culpa, and then I do the video the
Mhm.
next day. And he interviewed me on, I want to say it was Tuesday, and had a wager with him. He decided that the Wall Street Journal was going to back down, maybe pay a couple $1 million to settle this lawsuit so they could have access. Wait, because he's been right about
Mhm.
other things. And I said, well, assuming that's even true, because I don't think it is. Assuming it's true, Michael, do you think they're going to at least drop? And then I clarified, publish another bombshell story before that. And he said, no. I said, I think they are. So let's do a wager. And so now he owes me dinner. But I
Very good.
think, I know I'm really proud of myself. He'll never let me back on mea culpa now after that. But I'd rather be on the Dean Obeidallah show anyway, every week. No, don't, Michael. I
Mhm.
like you too. Never mind. So no, but I mean, I think the deal is, I think there's going to be more of a drip, drip, drip. They know how to do this, and
Mhm.
I think Donald Trump is also going to try to keep threatening Barack Obama with some kind of indictment. And I'm really tired of people saying, but he has immunity. I'm like, yeah, you know how this works? They would charge, I mean, you're a lawyer, they would still charge him. And then
Mhm.
after they would charge him, they want to drag that Obama story out for until the midterm. They'll talk about it, they'll say they're investigating him, and they want to indict him, and then he can go into court and make a motion to have the indictment dismissed, right? But once he does that, then that will be the Supreme Court case and it will get dismissed. So right now they're digging up anything else they could charge him with that has nothing to do with when he was in office. I mean, Donald Trump has decided his main goal is to make Obama a villain to distract from him. I just don't think it's going to work. But I do think Donald Trump will not be satisfied until a former president of the United States is also federally charged. Because remember, he was indicted in 3 federal cases, 2 state cases. I think am I getting that right? Is it 3 federal cases or just two and 2 state? I feel like it's three.
It was the espionage case and the January 6th related
Okay, so
case. So that was
two
the federal
federal
cases.
cases,
And then New York
two
and Georgia. So it's
two
four
state
cases.
cases. I wanted, and he was, and but I wanted another one. But oh well, we can wait for the bribery in connection with the Paramount deal. I think Donald Trump wants not to be the only president who has been indicted.
It's let's go. I don't know what's going to happen with Obama. I think they're going to
They have
Lindsey
nothing
Graham
against
today and
him,
other senators.
right?
Right.
Oh, what did
They're
Lindsay
pushing
say?
for a special counsel. And at some level, a special counsel, there's two parts to it, right? Special counsel then puts everything off for a year and a half. And then maybe Trump is gone and it goes away. I have no idea what the motivation of Lindsey Graham is. Not to defend Lindsey Graham. I'm just saying I don't know what his motivation is. I think the tell for Donald Trump is he's feeling like he's being forced out is if he starts saying things about JD Vance. And that will be the sign for all of us. Because where's JD Vance, folks? Usually a vice president is out there defending their president. They go on TV, that's part of their job. And he's posted a
Oh,
few things on Twitter, right? JD Vance has done a few things on Twitter, but I don't see JD Vance and I don't watch Fox News and Newsmax, but I don't see in the aggregators of media. JD Vance was on the news today defending Donald Trump. This is BS. That's garbage. Why is JD Vance so quiet? And that kind of fuels what you're getting at. The whole thing that volunteering, he had a medical condition that no one was asking about, was so odd to me. I was like,
uh-huh.
what is going on here? I go, is it much worse than they're letting on? So they're giving us a hint. So if something really bad happens, are they planning something really bad? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying like something was up. It was out of the normal where Carolyn Levitt opened the press conference by saying, I want to comment on the president's health. What follows from that is he's in the greatest health ever. He's like a 25-year-old. He's amazing. That's what you usually get after that. Not, he's got swollen legs, and here's all the tests they did, and everything's okay. And his hands, it's because of baby aspirin, which that doesn't do that. Baby aspirin doesn't give you those bruises no matter what. There are millions of people on baby aspirin. Everyone over 50, your doctor tells you to take baby aspirin. That doesn't do that, right? So that's not true either. What was that about? And I'm glad
I
you
think he
raised it
might
because
have
I found it really
congestion.
curious.
Some nurses on the internet, because you know how that works, have saying maybe it's congestive heart failure, which makes sense because that's all the swelling, and you can take whatever you take diuretics,
Dimethyl.
whatever you do for it, whatever. But I don't know, if someone's gonna, if I was gonna tabletop this and game this out, there's lots of pieces, right? Because the 25th Amendment isn't going to be easy with the cabinet he has put
Oh, no.
together, right? And Donald Trump, the Wall Street Journal isn't on his side. So there may be something so bad that they're going to drop that will make him impossible. It'll make it impossible for him to continue. Now, it doesn't quite work the same way as Nixon, because if someone goes to Donald Trump and says, you need to go, he will say, off with his head. Like, so I don't know
Right.
how this works, right? So that's the trouble. To me, it seems like you and I a year from now, well, let me say, they have to always just, I always thought this was the first term. Are they going to let this go through the midterms? Are they going to want to get this dusted and done now?
Epstein?
Yeah, no, I mean, if there's going to be an internal coup against, a plot for JD Vance to replace Donald Trump, when do
Oh,
they want
that
that
one.
to go down? And I just don't know.
I don't know. Did they
I think
kill
it's a
Hulk Hogan?
possibility. Well, I don't think they
Could,
killed
could
Hogan. He had a heart
I'm
condition.
kidding. I'm kidding you. But Ozzy, they killed Ozzy Osbourne. That I'm pretty confident about to lay the groundwork because everything happens in threes. But then
Yeah,
again,
I mean, look,
so
I think a year, I think a year from now, um, if Donald Trump is still in the presidency, um, then I would be surprised. I think it's really bad. And I'm hoping one of those 1,000 people who saw, I mean, not everyone saw everything is the problem, but I'm hoping the people who know the really bad stuff decide that victims in their country is more important than even them spending a little time in prison for breaking the law. That's called civil disobedience.
It,
When you
right.
violate the law on principle and you
Mhm.
serve your time, for it.
If they use the 25th Amendment to remove Donald Trump or attempt to remove Donald Trump, the fracture in the GOP will set that party back for years and years and years. So I can't see them doing that because the MAGA people would go ballistic. They would never
Right.
rally around JD
No, you're right.
Vance. So that because it takes the
That's not how they
cabinet to
would do
go with
it.
it.
I
How would
think they
they
would
do it?
have to get
Oh,
him.
more of the incapacitated, that he's
I think
actually
he would save
incapacitated.
face. I think JD Vance would, someone, not JD, someone would come to him and say, whether it was Melania, they would use someone that could
Oh,
speak
like
to
in The
him,
Godfather,
like
whoever
Ivanka or
comes to
someone
make the
who's
peace is the
close,
traitor. Right.
and then say, look, they have this photo and it's going to go out and it's going to go out no matter what you do. Um, or we have this and we're hiding this. It could be someone saying, it could be Don Bongino, it could be someone saying, I know about this. And unless he goes, I'm going to release this. Or it's in, and if you kill me, it's in a letter to Dean Obeidallah and he's going to release it or
I
something.
don't want to
I
be
don't know.
involved. Don't bring
I,
me into this. I don't want a letter. If I get a letter
well, I
from unknown
don't know.
person, I'm not opening it.
You're asking me to
I
write the
throw away the
movie.
actual key document, the key evidence. It's like in The Godfather. Someone's going to try to come to you to make the peace. That person will have you killed at the event. And it was D'Italia. It was always Italia because D'Italia was the smart one. Not to get in. I
Look,
thought it'd be Barzini. No,
fake
it was
heart
Italia.
attack. He's
Sorry.
going to live. Something's going to
That's
happen. He'll have a
bingo.
fake heart attack and they'll say he needs to spend more time with his family. And they'll
Right.
appoint him to like ambassador to Mar-a-Lago. They're going to get rid of him. Mark your
That's interesting.
calendar.
I don't know. I don't. I have
No,
zero
no,
confidence in
this
that. I
time
have zero confidence in that.
it's July
No.
24th. Okay. Uh, wager.
Zero comp. We can bet dinner.
Wager.
All right. You're trying to
Dinner?
get free dinners from
I
everybody.
have never
You said
met you in person, Dean. I will
we have a
come
Zoom
to New
dinner.
York.
Well,
We'll have a
all
Zoom
right.
dinner
Then I'll
and you'll
buy. If
pay.
you come to New York, I'll buy you dinner. And I
Where?
would be happy. So if a year from now, look. First of all, let's not get ahead
Okay.
of yourself. We're a year from now, July 24th of 2026. If
Mark your
Donald Trump
calendar.
is out of office, then free dinner for Jen Taub. We'll do it live or live stream it. Everyone can listen, and I'll be
Okay.
happy you gloat. And the only way that happens, in my mind, it's not through any kind of mechanism of the Constitution. It's because Donald Trump is physically unable, that it's undeniable.
Well,
And he's on that path.
I need to like just as a lawyer nail this down. If he leaves before then, Dean, like what if he
Okay, you get
goes in
free dinner no
January
matter what. All right.
within
July 24th.
within a reasonable time period thereafter?
I don't know if that, look, he is not physically well right now. He is
Right.
79. He's outlived all of his
He will not
siblings.
be president a year
He's
from now.
okay. That's Jen. And I'm not taking a position on it either way because it's not, I don't know what's going to happen. Whatever plan God has, we will let that play out. I'm China
You better
Professor
text
Jennifer
me when
Taub.
he resigns, Dean, because I want to
I will
come to New
very,
York
very happy to
immediately.
text you. All
Immediately,
right.
I'll
You're
get
on
on a
your way to New
flight to New
York.
York right now.
So Paramount, by the way, Paramount and Skydance deal was approved a short time ago tonight.
Ugh, right,
And I know this is really concerning because David Ellison, who's going to run it, is the son of Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison, a
right,
huge Republican fundraiser. To be fair, Larry Ellison didn't always love Trump. He's more of a business Republican, but he was at the White
right.
House in January, and they want CBS because Larry Ellison, the father, put up most of the $8 billion to buy it. So it's not like the son did this, the dad did this. I wonder what
Right.
they're going to do to CBS News in 60 Minutes, how it's going to change. What do you think?
They'll do what they want with it, but I also feel like, I grew up on 60 Minutes, right? It was when Mike Wallace showed up at your business, you should just not even talk to him. When we were kids, like,
Right,
why are you doing
right.
this? I loved Andy Rooney. The world's changed, right? And networks are important, but they're not as important as they used to be. And I'm not
Yep.
happy that Colbert is gone, but I also know stuff is changing in the world. When we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
you had three stations and PBS. Late night TV, if you got to stay up, you could see some swear words, maybe, or some risque conversation. Now people don't need
Right.
to stay up anymore. They can and so it's not, people are not bound to time of day when they look at their entertainment. And, what 60 Minutes? I mean, that seems tame compared to, the kind of gonzo journalism, some of which isn't even good, like James O'Keefe and shit like that. So sorry, ooh, am I,
You can
I
curse. It's fine. It's
um,
SiriusXM.
so, I mean, I'm not as concerned about that as I am concerned about when the Republicans figure out how to control all of the podcasters and make it look like they're authentic. That's what I'd be more concerned about.
And I don't know how they could do that other than to follow the playbook of Putin, where you shut a few down, you put a few in jail, and others self-censor. I don't. That's the only way. America's just too big for them to round up the
Or you
podcasters.
pay,
Uh,
you pay them.
oh, that's different, right? Then that's a different
Putin
thing.
also did
That's
that. Paid some
right.
American podcasters, right? But yeah,
Yeah, they could do that.
it's not going to
So,
happen that way. But yeah, right.
and I want to touch on another thing with you. Was today a Gallup poll came out. Donald Trump's approval rating is now 37%. Gallup's very well respected polling. It's the lowest of his second term and the second lowest ever. Among independents, it's at a 27% approval, the lowest ever that he's ever had. The bottom is falling out on issue after issue. And this is not the only poll on the economy, on even immigration. His numbers are at 40, 42%. It's only his base that's left. There's 90, 85, 90% of Republicans still on board. But I will say this, the strongly approve versus strongly disapprove shows such a lack of enthusiasm for him. Strongly approve in the CBS poll on Sunday was like 25, 26%. Strongly disapprove was nearly 50%. That's a huge enthusiasm gap. I know the GOP base likes him. They're not worked up for him as they once were. But when I watch corporate media, I don't get that sense at all. I get to say Donald Trump's the all power. Anything he says, oh my God, look how clever he is. That's what I feel like. They're not having panel after panel on cable news. Donald Trump's in the toilet. When Joe Biden had one bad poll, we heard it for a week. It'd be one bad poll. With Trump, one bad poll after the other, and they don't even cover it. And I don't know what's going on. And they still cover him with a deference of a popular president. And he's wildly unpopular.
And your newsroom and your corporate headquarters is based in New York City. And I love New York. I've lived in New York. People think I'm a New Yorker, even though I am not. But when you're based in New
Right.
York City, and that's where people are, and that is what is around them, they're not seeing all the other cities in the country, all the other towns, and what's on people's mind. And rent is still too high. Groceries are still too expensive. People are getting laid off. And on top of that, everyone knows the tariffs are part of the problem. And then finally, people are freaked out about their family member on Medicare or Medicaid because you know who's going to have to pick up the slack on that? The family. And
Yep.
they don't have extra money. So this is the reality around people. And on top of that, let's also layer into no one likes to see, well, no normal person likes to see their neighbor or the business owner down the street, you know, kidnapped, whisked
Right.
off the street
I know.
and put into prison. We don't, that's not what America is. And so I think people look at this and, maybe they have short term memories between the two different Trump terms, but now they're remembering he's a big boaster, but he doesn't deliver on the things that really matter to people.
I wonder for especially the independents that if the turn against Trump is overall seeing a guy who really wants to use the apparatus of government to not just punish his enemies, but control everything. If he had his
Right,
way, he would be renaming sports teams to be consistent with what he wants, to shutting
right.
down universities, law firms, Act Blue, the fundraising platform, media outlets, you name it, individuals. He wants to control everything. And I, in my heart, believe that as Americans, it's in our DNA to rebel against the king or a wannabe king or a wannabe
Yes,
tyrant. And
right.
that's who he is. And I'm hoping for independence. That's the real break. Because the Republicans are fine with a king if it's their king, not a
I'm
Democratic
glad you
king,
mentioned
but a
that.
Republican king. I'm hoping that's part of it.
No, I mean, you're so right, which is part of in the American DNA, whether you're born here or you came here, whether your parents or many generations, even especially if you were brought here unwillingly, in the American DNA is the idea of don't tread on me. I mean, you think that they would pay
Right.
attention to that, right? This idea of community and family, and we don't want some big oppressor from somewhere else telling us how to taking our money and telling us what to do. I think the other thing I forgot to mention is it's not just local economy, it's Donald Trump's pocketbook. I think people are
Right.
seeing, and there's more and more reporting about his self-dealing, his crypto
That's a
business
good
and
point. Forgot. Mhm.
and profiting off the presidency so brazenly is disgusting. So I think that all these pieces come together, and I think people don't feel like they're better off. And there's also the wars that he did not stop, and which he added to. I mean, he made a bunch of
Yep.
promises, and the only major ones he has kept is persecuting immigrants and cutting taxes on the
For the
wealthy.
rich. Yep. And
What else has he
it's an
done on his
excellent
list of
point.
promises?
I think your point about corruption is really, we're used to political corruption, which is the idea that you might help your donors and they'll give you a donation to your campaign or your super PAC, and no one likes it, but that's the game. We haven't seen a president actually get richer in the White House by selling access, a crypto scam, going on foreign policy to meet the investors into Trump organization and his son's companies. We've never seen that. And again, that is jarring, and that's, and I hope that never gets normalized. If a Democratic president ever did that, I would call out in a second. I don't care if I get fired from doing a show on progressive radio. If a Democratic president did what Trump was doing
Right.
in terms of corruption or using the power of the government to be essentially a tyrant or a fascist leader, I would speak out in a second. So, all right, Jen, before I let you go, my friend, where can people follow your work? I know you're doing things every Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Where can they go? Oh, what?
I've moved the time to 9 a.m. because who wants to get up that
What?
early? Yes.
So that extra half hour is the big difference. Okay, fair enough. 9 a.m. So it's that for the people who are sleeping in late, they get up early, but not that early.
Me, me.
So all
Also,
right.
you'll be out of the
So
elevator on the street getting your cup of coffee. What are you doing at 9 a.m.,
walk.
Dean?
You're right. 9 a.m. I'm usually working. I wake up. I'm very weird. I can wake up at 6:30 and begin working at 6:35. I don't even need coffee or tea. I get up and I start working because my brain's already working when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, me
I
too.
always wake up
I
and I
mean,
go,
I start
ah.
working, but I need my coffee. Anyway, I'm on YouTube, 9 a.m. To 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. The show is called Jen Taub Live, but you can just Google Jen Taub. Also, this Friday and Mike, I'll be on Mea Culpa if you get podcasts, and then also at 11:30 on Saturday on YouTube on the Midas Touch Network. I'll be chatting with Michael Cohn. He owes me dinner, and Dean will too. I'm going to just basically load up on my bets, and I'll be like dining out for a week in New York.
Or if it doesn't work out, all of a sudden Jen disappears. Like, where's Jen? She doesn't respond to the emails.
Dean,
She's
I'll
on the
buy
lam.
you.
She
You'll come to
dinner's
Detroit. You'll come to
that,
Detroit, and I'll
that
buy
no,
you dinner.
I'm not sure about it. I can't commit to coming to Detroit
Okay.
unless we do something with the show where we go to Detroit, Michigan for a week and
Yes.
cover like the governor's race and the Senate race and House races. That would be different. That would be kind of cool.
Okay,
On
do it.
SiriusXM will be on board. All right. Thank you, Jen.